What's up, everybody? Tyson here with Electron Rider. Now, today we're checking out the Turris from Ride1Up. This is a Class 3 adventure bike that was already an amazing deal when it came out and was priced at just $1,295. And now it's an even better deal because it's been marked down to just $1,095. And for what you get on this bike, it's honestly a steal. It's rare that I see a bike in this price range that actually impresses me enough that I'm like, yeah, I would like one of these. I would ride it a lot. But this bike does do that. Now let's talk a little bit about Ride1Up first. They're a direct-to-consumer only company. As far as I'm aware, they don't have any dealers yet, but they've been operating, I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5 years now, and they are in the segment of the market competing with brands like Electric and Rad Power bikes, the more affordably priced end of the spectrum. They have a fairly wide range of bikes. They've mostly been targeting more like city type bikes with their earlier models, but the Turris, this is an adventure bike. It's designed for kind of a mix of use. It'd work well in the city, but it does good on trails, kind of exploring, kind of, adventuring, right? Now, Ride1Up, they have a pretty basic warranty. You're talking like just a 1-year coverage against manufacturer defects, which is kind of the standard these days, unfortunately. So it doesn't cover a whole lot, and not having dealers is kind of a strike against them. And one other thing that I don't love about the brand is that so far their batteries and their bikes are not UL certified. There's different UL certifications for safety for just the batteries and for entire e-bike systems. I do hope they jump on that bandwagon soon, because it's nice to not have to worry about that stuff. But they're using very high quality Samsung cells in their batteries, which definitely does help out on the safety front. So anyways, let's jump into the Turris here. Now this comes in one frame size, but you can choose between the high step like I've got here. They've also got a step-thru, which also has a more swept back kind of cruisery handlebar to it. So that one's a little bit more approachable, maybe a bit more of a city bike. But even though there's just one size, this kind of fits a good range of riders because of this monstrous seat post. I have this all the way up at the highest setting, and me being at 6'3", I actually feel good. I can stretch my legs out on the way on this, so that's pretty nice and pretty rare for me. And then if you're shorter person, you can lower it all the way down here to pretty low seating position there, and then you'd be sitting very upright. Handlebars are kind of raised up relative to the seat if you do that. So fairly adjustable for a one-size-fits-all. Now this is a Class 3, which means that it can reach up to 28 miles per hour using pedal assist, but it does also have a throttle. So if you want to use the throttle, you're limited to 20 miles per hour, but that can be pretty nice for, if you just want a little bit of extra help, or you're just feeling really tired and worn out at the end of the day. You don't want to pedal on the way home. Now, probably what impresses me the most about the Turris is that it's a value-priced Class 3 electric bike that I actually feel safe and enjoy riding at Class 3 speeds. Now, there's a lot of bikes in this price range that are technically Class 3. They can technically go 20 miles or 28 miles per hour, but they don't really feel safe. Maybe they're a bit wobbly, rattly, making weird noises when you go that fast, or the pedaling drivetrain is kind of terrible, and so you can get to 28 miles per hour, but your feet are just cycling around like crazy. It doesn't feel good at that speed. Or the electronics aren't tuned well. There's a whole lot of reasons that you may not actually want to ride an e-bike that fast, and the Turris does well in all of these categories. Let's start with power. 750 watt rear hub motor back here, which usually you only see on the bigger, fat tire bikes. So this has the power to get you up to that speed. And although it does have a cadence sensor, there it is right here, sealed 12 magnet cadence sensor. Cadence sensors are pretty basic. They just measure revolutions of the pedals, not how much pressure you're putting on. They're not responsive like a torque sensor, but this one's tuned pretty dang well. It kicks in after only about a half a revolution pedaling, much less of a delay than the typical cadence sensor. And the way they have their electronics tuned is the best way to do it. If you have it, if you have it in level 1 pedal assist here, that will give you a little bit of power while you're pedaling, all the way up to that max speed of 28 miles per hour. A lot of e-bikes, and I don't know why they do this, they'll have level 1 cut off when you get to like 8 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour, and then level 2 will only get you up to like 12. So you're constantly having to fiddle with the controls if you want to go a little bit faster or slower, and they're not done very well. So Ride1Up has definitely got it dialed in here, where 1 gives you a little bit of power all the way up to level 5, which will give you a lot, but it's consistent across that 28 miles miles per hour range of the bike. So it feels very good. You don't have to do a lot of messing around with the controls. You can just kind of pick the mode that you're feeling like today and go with it. And then if you want to go faster, you have the throttle for full power override in any assist level. Again, best way to do it. That way, if you need a sudden burst of speed to pass somebody or avoid a collision, you just hit the throttle. You don't have to look down and try to push up on the display. So electronics, solid for class 3. Let's talk about the drivetrain as well. This is a Shimano Altus setup, which is a step up in quality from the entry-level Shimano Turris. So this performs a little bit better. The big upgrade is right back here. A lot of e-bikes in this price range and even above it have a very basic 14 to 28 tooth freewheel, which is just lower quality. That's not a very good range. It doesn't feel good to be pedaling at 28 miles per hour. This is an upgraded cassette with a 12 to 32 tooth range back here. So when you're pedaling along at 28 miles per hour, your feet are not going overly fast. It actually feels really nice. And then on the low end there for hill climbing, being able to go all the way to that 32 tooth on the first gear, that also feels really good. You can conquer some hills pretty easily on here. They've got the double-sided bash guard on here, protect the chain. So it's a solid pedaling drivetrain. Really the only knock against it is that it's still the the basic SIS index thumb shifter up here. I much prefer trigger shifters, but these get the job done. They're easy to use with gloves. And for a bike that only costs just over $1,000, it's hard to complain about that. Other things that help with the speed are the frame's very sturdy. We've got the high step frame here, which is going to be the most rigid, of course, but it feels great at 28 miles per hour, incredibly stable without frame flex. Riding no-handed is easy. So all of these things make this a bike that I actually feel good riding at 20 miles per hour on. Unlike almost all other bikes in this price range that I've ridden on, where 20, maybe 25 is kind of the peak. So let's talk use case for the Turris. They're advertising it as an adventure bike, which is sort of a, do everything. It's got a lot of a lot of potential uses here. It does come with the fenders by default. If you want a rear rack, you can add that on, pay extra from Ride1Up or put your own on there. It's got the bosses for it. It's got bosses for water bottles there on the center of the frame. So, it could be a good kind of like a city utility bike and also an adventure, off-road exploring bike. We've got these nice Kenda tires on here with a pretty aggressive tread. Like this tread's definitely made more for off-road. So dirt, gravel, trails like this, it's going to do awesome. They've got puncture protection, 2.4 inches wide. So they've got a decent cushion of air in there, good traction, and the suspension fork too. This is actually a pretty decent fork up here, especially for a bike that's this cheap. That's kind of the theme here. It's got, you can adjust the preload, you've got lockout, 100 millimeters of travel up there. So this will do pretty well. You maybe not aggressive mountain bike trails. I mean, this bike does weigh 60 pounds, so it's just a little bit hefty perhaps, but it can handle quite a bit of trails, at least, ones where it's allowed to ride. When you have a powerful motor back here and a throttle, there's a lot of mountain bike trails that will not allow something like this. So, make sure you check into your local regulations. But other accessories, you get a headlight that's included here, 60 lumen, pretty bright. It's got side cutouts on here, so you get some good side visibility. There's not any reflective stripes on the sidewalls of the tires, which is kind of a bummer, but they are a lighter brown, which helps it to stand out. And if you get this tan frame, pretty visible from the sides. They're doing okay there. There's no tail light, there's the reflector on the back of the saddle, which is pretty standard. No turn signals, no brake activation. A lot of e-bikes don't have those. They are starting to become more commonplace, but when you're spending less than $1,100, you just kind of have to accept you're not going to get some of those extras that would be nice to have. All right, it's ride test time, and now I don't think I've ever said this for one of my review bikes before, but I actually don't have the saddle up at the max height. I actually dropped it down just a tad, because it just feels a little bit too tall. So I love that they have the long seat post on there, so I can actually get to a comfortable fit on it. I do want to be able to operate the camera and everything. So yeah, we're gonna just jump on and ride around here. I'm gonna bump it down to 0, and we'll just ride it without assist at first. I'm in dirt parking lot here just to see how the tires feel. And I love how comfortable this bike feels. It's actually a surprisingly upright riding position. Looking at the geometry, I thought I'd be a little bit more forward, but even with the saddle up pretty high, I've got just like a little bit of a forward stance here, but feels very comfortable. The little rise in the handlebars definitely helps out there. Let's see, so we've got the display fired up, pretty basic stuff here, grayscale backlit LCD. I love these. They're simple, they're easy to work with. Speed in the center, your pedal assist level right over there on the side, battery, so you have 23 miles on it now, but we're gonna leave it in this says 0 and just cruise around. I definitely got to shift down. Goodness. So all the way down into first gear here, and I just like I have such a brisk cadence at this low speed, which feels great. I mean, this feels pretty easy to, you know, pedal up and down some hills, maybe doing some trail riding, even without the assist on, although it is, you know, a little heavy at 60 pounds. Just, it's very, very comfortable ride feeling. And, you know, even, you know, 8 miles an hour in this rough parking lot, I can still no hands, kinda. So this is pretty rough terrain right here. I'm definitely feeling the lack of a rear suspension, so a suspension seat post might be nice if you're going to be doing more rides like that. And you know, up here trying to pedal at 10 miles per hour, this is starting to feel like a lot more work now. I'm feeling the weight of the bike. You know, even though it is the upgraded Altus drivetrain, this is a bike where you're going to want your electric assist most of the time. So let's kick that on here. Just put it into level 1. And level 1's real subtle. Like, it's just a tiny bit of juice that's pretty consistent all the way up to 28 miles per hour. So if you're looking for getting good exercise, but a little bit of help, this would be the way to go. I think this, where we're riding here is probably kind of the ideal terrain for this bike, where it's a mix of pavement and dirt, a little bit of rough terrain, but nothing too crazy. Now the motor does get pretty loud if you have it up in level 5, but down here in level 1 like this, it's pretty quiet. I honestly can't really even hear it back there. So this is sort of like stealth mode. If you're, you know, trying not to be obnoxious, you know, maybe you're riding on a bike path with a lot of people and don't want to be overdoing it, flying by everybody, then you know, this feels pretty good. And you know, cruising here 12 to 15 miles per hour, still getting some exercise. But this feels more like riding a normal bike. You know, level 1 I think is just enough to balance out that weight and make you more feel like you're riding a normal bicycle. Still getting about that much work. It feels very nimble and maneuverable, honestly. Like, it's, I kind of wish I'd brought my chest cam today so we could do a little bit more, you know, like get off on the dirt trails and stuff. We'll see what it can do. It feels very stable. Let's bump it up to level 3. We'll go kind of like right in the middle of the range. I want to try and show the responsiveness of the sensor on here, because, you know, like I said, even though it's cadence, it kicks in very quickly for a cadence sensor. That's probably going to be easier to demo in 5, actually. So we put it in 5, and then you can hear the motor kick in quickly when I start pedaling. I mean, that thing's kicking in almost instantly when I'm already moving at speed, which is very rare for a cadence sensor. Typically you have to pedal a couple times around before it registers anything. The delay can kind of be killer, you know. It's not ideal, especially if you're going uphill. So I like that they have this dialed in a bit more aggressively on here. Feels really nice. Level 3 is a good, I don't know, good like middle ground. Much easier for cruising up, you know, maybe 15, 20 miles per hour pretty easily. But you can still reach your top speed even in level 3. I mean, you can even get up to 28 miles per hour in level 1 if you want to. It'll still be helping you, but you have to be doing kind of quite a bit of work if you want to do that. We're coming up on a decent sized hill right here. I just kind of want to see what the pedal assist can do with it. You know, let's bump it up to 5. And you know, I'm already no-handed. I'm accelerating up this hill. We're getting up on towards 20 miles per hour. Like the motor is, you know, 750 watts. It's got a good amount of torque once it gets going. These rear hub motors, they're good at peak power, not so much initial like off the line torque. So when you first start out, they're a little bit slow, but then you know, once you hit around 5 to 8 miles per hour, they really start to pick up steam and can tear right up a hill like that. All right, we're gonna do a little speed test here because I want to demo just how good the bike feels at that top speed. So we're in what, gear 4 here already. We're right in pedal assist level 5. I am gonna go ahead and get this shifted all the way up to gear 7. I love how stable this bike feels at these high speeds. There we are up to, you know, 26 We're 27. We're coming up on top speed at 28 miles per hour. The frame feels incredibly stable. I mean, it's it's not often I feel comfortable going this fast, you know, riding no-handed on one of these bikes. And I'm not pedaling that fast. I feel like I could pedal and still go quite a bit faster before I reach the top end of this this drivetrain, since they have the upgraded cassette back there with the wider range. This actually feels good to pedal and go that fast. Do another speed run here. Just using pedal assist still, no throttle. See how fast we can get up to. All right, yep, so the motor cuts out when we reach, you know, 29 miles an hour. So now I'm doing all the work, motor is not helping at all. So significantly more exercise. But it's good that they have it set up like that. A lot of class 3 e-bikes don't actually cut out at 28 miles per hour. You can just keep going even faster than that, which, you know, is technically illegal and can be very unsafe on some of these bikes that just don't do well at that high speed. So I really think Ride1Up has done a killer job, at least as far as like making a fun and safe class 3 vehicle with the Turris. Now, on the subject of safety, I completely forgot to like talk about this during the first part of the video, but the brakes on here are fantastic. Zoom hydraulic disc brakes, and not only that, but we've got the big 180 millimeter rotors on here. This is very rare for a bike that is priced this low, and you know, part of the whole, you know, making a safe class 3 bike is that you need good braking power. If you're going to be going 28 miles per hour, you need to be able to stop safely from that speed. So having the big rotors on the front and the rear, having hydraulic brakes. If you've never used hydraulics before, they're very easy to activate. You don't need very much grip force. Very powerful, very strong stopping power. They don't really require as much maintenance as mechanical brakes that you have to tighten up those cables because they stretch over time. So again, it's kudos to them for putting them on there and just packing in so much value at this price point. Okay, we're gonna see what the throttle can do. You know, purely throttle, nothing else. I don't love that the throttle's on the left grip over here. I'm a motorcycle rider. I'm used to having it on the right, but you know, I get used to it, whatever. And if you're not a motorcycle rider, you probably won't even care. But anyways, I'm not gonna pedal. We're just gonna hit the throttle. So taking off, like I said, it's pretty slow. Not great off the line when you have a hub motor, but we're starting to pick up steam now. 15 miles an hour there. We're actually going uphill a little bit here too. Okay, there's 20. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like the throttle cut off at, well, yeah, right about 20 miles per hour. We kind of got up to 22 and then it balanced back out. We're going uphill there, so I think we'll go back the other way and see how it does there. Okay, we'll do the same thing, full throttle, going a little bit downhill. Definitely a much peppier start. We're already up to 15. Really good acceleration, wow. All right, so we hit 23 and now we're kind of coasting down. It seems like right about 22 is the max power of the throttle. You know, I can still hear it going back there, even though it's not putting out as much power. So it seems like they're having it balanced a little bit past 20 miles per hour and then trying to keep it, you know, make it so that it can keep a steady pace at 20 miles per hour. You know, you gotta have a little bit more top end power there just in case you're like going up a hill, carrying some cargo. But yeah, so it's basically cutting off right about at that 20 mile per hour marker, which again is an important safety thing. There's a lot of these class 3 e-bikes that let you use the throttle up to 28 miles per hour or even beyond and still advertise themselves as class 3 when legally they are not. Like that's not how, and you know, the rules vary jurisdiction to jurisdiction, but more and more cities are starting to crack down on this because it's actually a big safety deal. If you've got these bikes that can go at these very high speeds that their frames aren't designed to handle, it's not good for the rider, and also it's not safe for everyone else if they're riding on, you know, trails where people on normal bicycles or people are walking, whatever. So I said, you know, this has kind of been a long-winded rant to say I think Ride1Up's doing the right thing here with how they have their electronics tuned both for performance and just for safety and legality. This is a bike that you can ride pretty much anywhere legally and feel safe on it. Alrighty, my friends, this is about the end of the road for this review, so I want to just give you some closing thoughts here. If you watch the whole video, it's obvious I really like this bike. I've been impressed with Ride1Up products in general, and I feel like they've just got a home run here. It's a ton of value that's packed in for less than $1,100. A lot of nice touches and quality components that you don't get on other bikes that are in this price range. But what I think really sells it for me is that it's built well for its purpose. It's designed as a Class 3 adventure bike. It can actually handle those speeds safely. It can get up to those speeds, thanks to the powerful motor and the upgraded cassette back there. It's really well done. And there's things to be, I guess, aware of if you're, a first-time buyer looking at one of these. Like I mentioned, Ride1Up doesn't have dealers, so you can't get in and test ride one. Their warranty is so-so. And their bikes aren't UL certified yet, which can be a cause for concern, but they do seem to build a really good product, and they've been operating for 4 or 5 years now with very good reputation, at least as far as the quality of their products go. Anyways, folks, that's it for me. If you have questions or comments about this review, you know what to do. Chime in the comments section. Let me know what you think. You can also check the video description for a link to the written review. I've got even more details. I've got all the specs. I've got photos of the different components on the bike back on my website, electronrider.tech. All right, guys, ride safe out there. Catch you in the next video.